Today I want to talk to you about tips and tricks for using reclaimed wood to make wood signs. So first I wanted to show you a couple pieces. I'm going to be showing you how to do this with barnwood. So one of the biggest things that you want to make sure with reclaimed wood is that you're going to clean it off. I don't usually use dish soap or bleach or anything like that. I usually like to use a sander to clean it off. Now I'm not sure if you can see too well with this particular piece, but there's a lot of dirt and there's some spider webs and there's some other really gross things on here that needs to come off. Not only because it's gross, come on, let's be honest, but mainly because your paint won't adhere to this. So you want to make sure you get rid of anything that's on here. And on the back side, it's obviously not as important to get all the grime off of your wood from the back side, but I like to get rid of it, especially for selling purposes, or you're going to give this for a gift or something like that. So make sure to sand both sides. Also, another example, if you're going to have barnwood or any other kind of reclaimed wood, you want to check for it to be sturdy enough. A lot of these pieces are 100 years old, for instance, if you're using barnwood like this, or a pallet wood, they're going to be older, they're going to be sitting outside in the sun, they might be oldie, you like that? They're going to be old and moldy, and you're going to want to make sure that they're sturdy enough. So on the back here, let me see if I can get this close up. What I did with this is there's a huge crack, and I put wood glue in here, and then I stapled it, and now this piece, I can't move it at all. It is sturdy, I can make my sign, and I don't have to worry about it falling apart, you know, in a few days or a few weeks, or even if it falls, you know, somebody drops it on the floor, it'll be fine. Now this particular piece, it's just about completely sanded. There's a few spots, but this will be fine to use for a sign. Now, one of the biggest downfalls for using reclaimed wood is that it's very porous and it's hard to get the paint to adhere to it, or when you do, it's multiple coats. And I don't know about you guys, but I hate doing multiple coats. Like I'm talking 5, 6, 7, because you just want to all of a sudden put the paint, you want to layer it on, you know, you want to layer it on. You want to get on there as quick as possible. And a lot of times, especially I know myself, I've used spray paint in the past to do stencils on my barnwood, and it's so hard to get it to stick. And where was I going with this? I'm so sorry. And I want to do extra layers. That's the whole point of what I was trying to get towards, is that a lot of times that you use spray paint and you don't want to wait for it. You're sitting there going, oh my gosh, is it going to be done yet? Is it dry? Can I put another layer? You have to go over, you'll touch it. It's no fun. Nobody likes to do it. And that's why I like to use the airbrush. And in my ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Making Your Own Signs, you'll notice that almost all of my tutorials is with an airbrush. However, you know, if you don't have one, that's completely okay. Just remember that with spray paint, you do have to wait, and you will have to just be very patient. So here's a quick tip though. If you are going to use spray paint and you're like, nope, I'm not using airbrush, I refuse, no worries, no big deal. Or if you're going to even use acrylic paint or latex paint, which I usually go to because I usually have a lot of it on hand, to be honest. I tend to paint my walls a lot in the house. Anybody else do that? Anybody? Yeah, I do. I paint my walls in my house. I think I've painted my living room 3 or 4 times now. I just can't pick a color. I like them all. Well, anyways, so one of the ways before you put on your stencil is to go ahead and give it a matte finish. So this one right now is Velspar. Excuse the noise. I didn't realize my husband was going to be sawing or doing whatever he's doing right now. That's fantastic. But so this is a top coat. It's a flat matte finish from Velspar, but you can get them from Rust-Oleum or a bunch of other places as well. So let me close this window real fast. Hold on. I'm so sorry. So if you put one coat of this top coat matte finish onto your reclaimed wood, I promise you it will help tremendously, and it will not allow your paint to soak in so much, so you have to do so many layers. Okay, so with all that being said, what I like to do is I actually like to paint it first before I put on my stencil anymore. I rarely do the all natural because, like I said, it's very porous and it's hard to get it to stick. So I usually use a latex interior paint. Right now I'm kind of on a Color Place Walmart kick, and I use the interior satin just in white, and it's like a grab and go. I think it's called Grab and Go. Yes, it's called Grab and Go, and I think it's $17, $18. It's not that bad at all. So I put that on here. I let this dry for at least a few days. I always say it's better to let your paint cure than to not have it, you know. So many times I've gone to use my vinyl stencil and I'll put it on something, and when I'm done painting, my vinyl will peel my paint off, whether it's reclaimed wood or just, you know, plywood or whatever I'm using, and that's frustrating because then you have to go back in and touch it up. I hate that. So always let your board dry for a few days. Okay, so let's get on to the fun stuff, right? So today I am going to use an airbrush because that is my go-to method, and I'm going to be showing you this design that I showed you earlier. Home is where mom is. This would be a great stencil for a wood sign, or you could use this cutout file that I'm going to have available in my Etsy shop. You can have this for stationery, you can put it on a shirt. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with a cut file. And it comes in, or it's going to be in printable form too, so you could just print it out if you wanted for mom. Anyways, I'll leave that link for you guys later. So I've already cut it out on my Silo Cameo, and I can leave a link also for how to do that kind of a tutorial. I have a few on my blog that are really helpful in case you don't know how to do that. Pulled out all the pieces, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick it to my wood sign. So let me move the camera so you're able to see it a little bit better. Oops. Okay, so this is just my backing, in case you didn't know. So there's vinyl that I printed my cutout from. This is transfer paper, this clear stuff, and the back is just the backing from the vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to pull that off since I've already taken out all my little pieces. What type of paper is that? This vinyl, is that what you're asking for? I buy all my vinyl through US Cutter and my transfer paper because it's wholesale, and it's a much better price. Okay, so typically when I'm doing my stencils, I like to have a square around them so they're as big as my board. As you can see, I'm a little off today. Let me see if I can move this down just a little bit more. Okay, so that way I don't have to guess. I know that it's equal within my square on my vinyl, within my wood piece, and it just makes it so much easier. You're welcome, no problem. Okay, so I like to use a squeegee or a credit card to put my vinyl down on my wood sign, so I know that it's going to adhere as, you know, as best as possible. This particular squeegee, it's with a screen printing kit that I got whenever I do fabric, tea towels, and all that kind of good stuff. Oh, you're welcome. I love using the square box tip. It is amazing. It helps me so often. Like I said, typically I'm better than this than having it off so much, but that's okay. I can just use tape. It's really easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my squeegee to push it down. Okay, now it's time to take my transfer paper off. Now I have to admit, earlier I made a boo-boo with my stencil. I accidentally stuck vinyl to vinyl, and if you've ever done that before, it is such a pain. You're sitting there going, should I try to salvage this? Should I recut it? So I try to salvage it. So I'm hoping I'm not going to regret that in a few minutes. I'm hoping it stays sticky. And one of the only things that I don't like about using vinyl with signs is this part right here. Is you really have to take it slow. You kind of have to hold it down while you pull up the transfer paper to make sure that it stays there. But I promise you, once you get it on there, it's so worth it. This is actually hand drawn, this particular stencil, and then I converted it into a digital file. And I used to do everything by hand. I used to not use a stencil, but I'm such a perfectionist, and it used to drive me insane that I would get one sign to look absolutely perfect, and then the next sign would look nothing like it. I don't know. I don't like that. Oops. Let's see if I can get this piece back on there. I have a tendency to use razor blades a lot. Whenever I have a mistake, for instance, this particular stencil piece coming up. Let's see if I can get it manually. Oh, it's not too bad. I have a tendency of using a razor blade because I like the point on the end. I just have to be careful so I don't actually get my wood though with it. But it's one of my favorite go-to tools to use whenever I'm pulling off my vinyl or putting it on, all that good stuff. Almost done, I promise. I know this takes so long to do. Normally when I do videos on the blog, I speed up this part. Okay, so now that's all done. I like to use a paint can and just kind of prop up my sign when I go to, when I go to paint it. I find that it's easier for me to see everything. And let me pull this back a little bit so you can see. Let me get some tape too. One of these days I'm going to be completely prepared, I promise you. Have the windows all closed so no noise comes in. Okay, so I brought over a couple different tapes. Actually, you know what, I'm going to use just this green masking tape. I think that'll be easier. And the reason I'm taping off is because with spray paint or the airbrush, sometimes you have overspray, whether it's by accident or, you know, whatever. I guess it's mainly just accidents, huh? Oh well, you know what I mean. All right, so I'm just going to put this down. And sometimes, you know what I like to do too, if the masking tape, if I don't have a lot of it available or I have a lot of extra vinyl, sometimes I'll even use that extra vinyl to cover the pieces so I don't have to waste any tape. Wow, I have all kinds of noise. Can you guys hear all that noise that I have at my house today? I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so now I'm all ready, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hook up my airbrush and my compressor. My compressor is actually a portable one. You know, now off the top of my head, I do not remember how big it is, but it is downstairs because it is so noisy. Can you see my airbrush? I can leave a link for that too. If anybody's interested, I can leave a link for that too, what airbrush and compressor I suggest and use. Now before I use my airbrush, I always use a lacquer thinner since I'm using a lacquer paint, and I just put it inside a little paint container and I go ahead and clean it out. Even though I clean it out every single time, I just find this is better to do. Just so I don't have any problems in the end. Okay, so I'm just blowing it out right now, and I can already tell that I'm having an issue. That's no good. See, this is why you don't put paint in first. You put the lacquer painter in. Okay, so right here, I can see that I have a little bit of paint on the tip. So I'm just going to use my lacquer thinner, and I'm just going to clean it out, just kind of pour it all over. I do make messes all the time. There's no way I'm going to be able to be clean on this all the time. Okay, and it's still not coming out. That is fantastic. Okay. It happens, right? Okay, so I'm going to take, if you didn't see, I took my paint thing off, and I'm going to put my lacquer thinner right through here. It happens. It's not a big deal. I can fix this. The link to the airbrush. Okay, cool. No, as soon as we're done with this, I definitely will. I will definitely share that. Okay, so right here, I'm going to put my lacquer thinner right through that hole where I took off that paint can, okay? Or the paint container, excuse me. And I'm just going to push it through. There it goes. Can you see that? Can you see how it flew out? It's kind of hard doing this live. Okay. And I swear, I just used this today, and I even cleaned it out earlier. Just the nature of the beast, right? Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and clean this out, throw it out. I usually have a plastic container close by, and I just spray paint it on that, or as you can see with my canvas, I just use that. Okay, so the paint that I'm using right now is actually a taxidermist lacquer paint. Why? Because I haven't found a water-based paint that I like yet. I'll be completely honest. You know what, and you can't even read. Here, let me see if I can find one. Here it is. Can you see the brand? And it's called Mackenzie Taxidermy. My husband is a taxidermist. Just in case you're wondering, how in the world did you end up getting involved with taxidermy? My husband's a taxidermist. So that's how he introduced me to airbrushing. Okay, so there's going to be a marble within at least the lacquer paint within each of these paints. And you always want to make sure, can you hear that? You want to make sure that you stir it up really good, because it's not going to work. It's going to come out really runny and all that kind of good stuff if you don't mix it up. But be careful, after you use it for so long, see how there's a buildup? I don't know, maybe people are more careful than me. I'm not very careful with this. Maybe I need to clean it up more. I don't know. You would think with me being so perfectionist with my signs and having them look perfect, I would do better with the paint cans, right? Okay. Oh, don't do that to me. Oh, I love it. I love when my airbrush decides to act crazy and doesn't want to work while I'm doing this live. I swear, it doesn't normally do this. Go figure, right? All right, there it goes. Okay, we're ready, guys. Sorry. Okay, as you can see, lacquer thinner is your friend, right? Okay, so right here, you're going to see the nozzles, and you can kind of switch these back and forth to kind of help you with how much paint comes out. I'm going to be doing, just in case you're wondering, I am going to be doing an e-course soon where I'm going to be explaining more in detail how to do all this. Okay, so, can you see my side? Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to lightly do coats over all of this. And normally, yes, I should be using my respirator. But you know what? It's really hard to talk in that thing. And I don't think you guys could hear me. So I'm going to be really good, and I'm not going to do this for very long, okay? That way I don't have too many fumes. But normally, please, 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 use a respirator. Okay. Do this real fast. And let me see if I can zoom even more so you guys can see how this looks. Like, I'm just doing really light coats, okay? And as you can see, it's not dripping. It goes on perfectly. I love it. Oops. Unless you get tape over one of the stencils, right? Okay. There you go. Oops. And there's that part that I was telling you about that wasn't going to stick. That's okay. What's nice about the lacquer paint is that it dries so fast. You don't have to worry as much like with the spray paint. The spray paint, it's not very user-friendly when it comes to vinyl stencils if you're having any issues. And see how I'm already going on a second coat? I'm just kind of lightly doing it. And one of the things I want to tell you too, when you're pushing on this, don't hold it down the entire time. Just kind of do light little layers, or light little clicks, I should say. You won't waste as much paint. Okay, let me finish this up real fast. And you know what I like about lacquer paint too? I'm sure a lot of the airbrush, like the water-based paints that you use, as soon as I find one, I will let you know. But it's really nice because I can mix these up. If I want a custom color and I can't find it, I can mix it up just like a latex paint. Whereas, you know, with spray paint, you can't do that. You have to find the color that you want. So that's really nice. Just make sure when you're mixing, you have it in a container that has that marble in it so you can mix it up every time. Just about done. Now, since I'm going to be distressing this as well, I am not going to make it sure, or I'm not going to make sure, I'm going to make sure that when I'm painting this, that I don't have to have it exactly perfect. I don't have to have it a thick black on here with the color, because I'm going to be distressing it. That makes sense. Am I making sense? I hope so. Okay, I'm just kind of winging it right now. A little flustered after that little airbrush incident, right? Okay, so it's all done. It's dry. That's it. It's already dry. So I can already pull this apart. Look at that. How awesome is this, right? All done. I can pull it all off. No paint dripping, no nothing. And that is all, my friends. That is all I do. And like I said, I like to use my razor. I don't know. Probably shouldn't. I probably should use one of those rubber ones. But I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't. I won't pull all of these off. I'll just kind of show you. See how great that looks? That is darn near perfect. And it's going to look like that every single time with an airbrush. Isn't that pretty? Okay guys, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this right now. I'm going to add those links so you can find the air compressor and, let's see, the airbrush, excuse me, the little set that I recommend. And I'm also going to put the link to how you can find this particular stencil so you can make your own signs, okay? Do you airbrush all of I do. Right now, I've been airbrushing all of my signs because I absolutely love it. It's my absolute favorite way to do it, and they look great every single time. Oh, and with this particular one, there's great grooves here, so when I go to distress it, it's really going to look very farmhousey, very rustic, very vintage, and I love that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and you have a great day. Bye.